Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Good day. So, now we are preparing for central force problem. Before we come to central force problem, we will do certain things which may be useful for the course, and part of the things would be required for central force problem. So, first thing we will do what is called virial theorem. So, suppose I have a system of n particle. I have a system of n particles. So, each of them R I denotes position vector of the ith particle. Okay. And similarly, Pi denotes, see this subscript I is not for the component, subscript stands for the particle. So, I goes 1 to n. So, there are n particle and each of them has position vector, momentum, and F I is total force applied or acting on ith particle, and we are talking about a system of n number of particles. Okay. Okay. Now, a quantity called virial, let us say we write a scalar quantity called virial of the problem, that is defined as P I dot R I and sum over all I goes from 1 to n. This is what we call the virial of the system. If we take time derivative of this quantity g, then we get P I dot scalar product with R I plus P I dot scalar product with R I dot sum over I. So, this is what we get. Okay. So, I can rewrite this rate of change of the quantity g, P I dot is rate of change of momentum. So, that is nothing but the force acting on the ith particle. So, I write F I dot R I and sum over I, and that will mean I goes from 1 to n. I am not writing everywhere, but I goes from 1 to n, and then sum over P I and R I. So, what is that? Sum over this P I is m V I, that is the momentum, dot R I dot is velocity. So, this is m v square. So, and mass of ith particle. So, this is m v square and kinetic energy is half m v square. So, this is nothing but 2 times kinetic energy plus sum over I f I dot r I. So, this is what is the rate of change of quantity g, which we called V real. That is nothing but sum over all the particles product of scalar product of momentum and position vector. Okay. Now, we will take the average time average value. So, let me define a time average value. Time average value for any quantity of f of t, if I take time average, then it will have a value which will be independent of time. So, that is what it is, and what is the meaning of that? That f of t has to be integrated over time, and this can go 0 to tau, and in general tau has to be large. So, if we take f t dt, dimensionally time has come here. So, I have to divide by time, and that is the total time, and in the limit time is considered reasonably large. So, in principle, as time goes to infinity, this is this integral divided by the time considered. If that is evaluated, that is what is called time average of a quantity f. Okay. So, that is how we define that. Now, we come to again our expression. So, this is we are given 2 t plus sum over I f I dot r I, and we want to take time average of this whole quantity. So, d d t of g and then time average of this quantity. Okay. So, now let us do the expansion of time average, at least for one term d d t of g. So, I write here right hand side now as left hand side, the bar denotes the time average. So, I f I dot r I, and this the time average of d g d t is by definition 1 upon tau 0 to tau d g d t and integral over time and in the limit t going to infinity. Okay. So, this can be written. Now, you see this is d d t of g and integral is over d t time only. So, this is a total derivative d g, right. So, I have limit tau going to infinity 1 upon tau, and we have g of t between 0 and tau. That is what we have found. So, twice the time average value of kinetic energy, and here also time averaged, and time averaged value of f I dot r I time averaged. This is limit of tau going to infinity 1 upon tau g of tau minus g of 0. Now, if the motion is bounded in steady space, we are talking about a system of particles which is moving in state space, but it is bounded, meaning the coordinate or velocity of any of the particle that makes the system never go to infinity. So, coordinates of each particles of the system remains finite and their velocity also remains finite. So, if that is the case, then g, which is function of, as we have defined, g was p I dot r I dot and it was sum over that. So, if r I is fixed and p I is fixed for bounded system, let us say upper bounds are fixed, it need not be constant all the times, but there is a well defined upper bound. So, momentum cannot cross certain value and its position cannot go beyond certain value. So, motion is such that in state space system is confined in certain volume of the state space. If that is the case, g of t and g of 0 they are both bounded, and if I take the average for very long time, then this will go to 0, right. On the other hand, for a system showing periodic behavior, like 2 spring, 2 mass, single spring and mass system, pendulum, etc., they show oscillations. So, if a system is showing oscillation, then this tau could be chosen as the time period of the oscillation. In that case, g at some initial time which we are calling 0, and after a time period it will come back to same value. So, this would be automatically 0 if we take t as the time period of oscillation, then I do not have to take limit and other consideration. So, this tau could be the time period. So, a system showing periodic behavior with period tau, right, g t minus g 0 is 0. So, whether we have a system showing periodic behavior that we will encounter, we have all in small oscillations and we have already encountered such problems, pendulum motion and some other oscillatory solutions. So, if that is the case, then this expression becomes 2 t plus f I dot r I and time average thing is 0. Okay. Now, what is F I? F I is all the forces acting on the ith particle, and what is R I? R I is the position vector of ith particle with some chosen coordinate system, and T is the kinetic energy. Okay. Now, if the forces are derivable from a potential, that happens in many problems. So, let us see if the forces, if F I is derivable from some gradient of some potential, but their gradient with respect to which position coordinate? There are n number of position vectors. So, I have to put some I here. So, this will mean actually derivative of the potential with respect to the position vector of the ith particle, and this is in general a function of r 1, r 2, r 3 and all of there are n particle. So, if the force is derivable from a potential, then here we can change the expression for the force. So, we can write 2 times average value of potential energy as minus f I dot r I sum averaged, and f I am going to replace, and this minus cancels this minus. So, it becomes dou of u r I dot r I and time averaged value of this. So, this is the case for closed systems or system under the action of a conservative force like gravitational force, which depends on r, then electrostatic force that also depends on r. So, forces between nucleons, they are also position dependent, they depend on the distance between two nucleons. So, for all forces which are derivable from a potential or a scalar function, I can replace f by so called potential energy on etcetera. Okay. And so, what I am going to get? So, now I have got an expression for average of kinetic energy. So, now I have an expression for average of kinetic energy as half 2 I have put on the right hand side. Now, I goes from 1 to n, whether I have right. Okay. So, it goes from 1 to n, and this is nothing but gradient of a potential and dot product with r I. So, this is dot product with r I. So, that is what we get, and we have to take of course time average of whole thing, that is what we have to take. And most of the interesting problem that you encounter in physics, for example, of fundamental importance, gravitation, electrostatic forces, short range forces. So, they all depends, potential energy depends on r. So, suppose one more assumption, if u, which may depend on the potential energy, but it is a homogeneous function of order k. So, that means of degree k. So, u, which is function of r, if it depends, let us say there are 2 particles, it depends, there may be multiple particles. So, what does it mean? It means there are, if you are getting in potential energy one term which is quadratic, all the, let us say there are n particle system. No? So, these two interacting will give some potential energy, interaction between 1 3 will also give, 2 and 3 will also give, 3 4 will also interact. So, all will give various kinds of term. So, if we are writing between 1 and 2 and there is kth term is coming, then in potential energy there would be various possible terms. Let us say in some k minus m and then some 2 3 m and blah blah. There may be various kinds of terms which may involve position coordinates or distance between two particles, but if you add their degrees, they are homogeneous function and kth degree. So, that is what I am assuming here. So, if the potential energy is a homogeneous function of degree k, and where you get this kind of thing. Let us say there are a spring mass system. If one spring and one mass, you know potential energy is half k x square. If there are more than one springs and masses, so there would be more potential energy, and but all will have similar kind of behavior. They will have all spring will behave in similar manner. So, that would be a homogeneous function and degree would be 2 quadratic for ordinary spring and so. So, if that is the case, then if I multiply it with, let us say if I take derivative of this with respect to r, which is same as if I write one variable then this, but u may be function of not one r, it may be function of r 1, r 2, r 3. So, I need to write partial derivative, that is why I have written. For one dimensional problem it is du dr, otherwise it is not. So, then what do we get? K times a r k minus 1, and if I multiply dou u dou r with r, then I will get k times, and since I multiply with r, so it would be r of k, so it would be k times u. So, for one variable you see this is the behavior, but this is general behavior as long as potential energy is a homogeneous function of degree k. So, if that is the case, then T would be average value of T would be half of, and this is going to give me k times time average of u. K is the degree of the homogeneous potential energy u. Okay. So, we have put two assumptions here. First, we considered forces which are derivable from a potential which depends only on coordinates, and then we made another assumption: if potential energy is a homogeneous function of these coordinates, various distances between the particles. Let us say the degree of homogeneity is k, then average kinetic energy is equal to half k time average of u. Okay. Now, we know kinetic energy plus potential energy is total energy of the system. So, that means, if I take time average of this would be time average of total energy, but if total energy of a conservative system is fixed, so E average is basically E total energy, that is not going to change. unless and until a system is losing energy or some energy is pumped into the system, its energy is fixed. So, for a closed system or system under the action of a conservative force, so total energy will remain a constant. Okay. Now, kinetic energy we already found out as is half k average value of u. We just did it. Time average of kinetic energy is half k times time average of potential energy. So, this is the part I am going to use here. So, half k u average equal to, right. So, this gives me, I multiplied throughout by 2. So, 2 E u average equal to k plus 2. Okay. So, in terms of energy, u average is twice the total energy upon k plus 2. K is the degree of homogeneity, and assumption is potential energy is a homogeneous function of coordinates. Okay. So, now I can find an expression for T bar also. So, T bar, which is half k u bar. So, half k and u bar is 2 E upon k by 2. So, this 2 and 2 goes, and this is k times E by k by 2. So, we have another relationship, time average value of kinetic energy is k times E upon k by 2. These are the general results based on two assumptions. Force is derivable from a potential energy, and potential energy is a homogeneous function of these coordinates. Okay. So, now we have we look at the standard cases we encounter in physics. So, for example, potential energy due to gravitational force, that is like 1 upon r, and similarly potential energy in between charges interacting through electrostatic field. So, it is 1 upon u is like 1 upon r. So, we have assumed here u. Okay. So, let us take k equal to 1. So, we derived this based on u was a times r raised to power k, that was what we had assumed. No? So, u was some constant time r to the power k, a homogeneous function, that is what we. So, if I take k equal to minus 1, so that is the case for gravitational energy, etc. So, in that case what would be average time average value of u? Time average value of u would be k is minus 1. So, 2 minus 1 1. So, 2 times E, and time average value of kinetic energy is k is minus 1. So, this would be minus E. This means E kinetic energy is never negative, because it is half m v square. So, quadratic function of velocity and mass is always positive. So, its average value, time average value would be always positive. So, energy is negative in such cases, that is what we have learned. So, if k is minus 1, like the case of gravitational field, electrostatic field, the total energy is negative of the kinetic energy. So, total energy is negative, okay. And total energy can be written in terms of kinetic energy, that is negative of this, and u bar would be 2 times E. So, 2 times E would be minus 2 times T. So, that is the expression. Why total energy is negative? Because such potential energy, such fields are attractive. So, there is a minus sign, and total energy is sum of potential energy plus kinetic energy. Potential energy is larger. So, sum of them are negative. So, that is what is the first case. This situation you will also learn when you do later quantum mechanics. The total energy of hydrogen atom will turn out to be negative. That is why hydrogen atom is in a bound stable bound state. Okay. So, here is one example. Other could be k equal to 2, k equal to 2 like simple harmonic motion, etc. In simple harmonic motion, potential energy is half k x square. If it is a 3 dimensional oscillator, harmonic oscillator, then it would be half k r square. So, k is 2. So, if we take k equal to 2, then we get time average value of u is k is 2. So, from here you see 2 upon 4. So, that is E by 2, and time average value of kinetic energy, that is k is 2. So, again 2 by 4. So, this is also E by 2. So, time average value of kinetic energy is equal to time average energy of potential energy, and that is equal to half the total energy. So, that is an important result which comes in harmonic oscillation. So, whenever there is a harmonic oscillation, the average of time average value of potential energy and kinetic energy is half the total energy per degree of freedom. So, this is or half the total energy. So, these are important cases as far as. Okay. So, the theorem is which we did just now is known as virial theorem, because using this relationship is called virial theorem. Using the definition of V real, we got this. Okay. Now, we will go to two body problem. Okay. So, suppose I have a mass m1, another mass m2. Two body, they are interacting with each other and a system of two particles are moving. It could be motion of earth around the sun, it could be two charged particles which are interacting with each other. So, two bodies interacting with each other. So, if I choose a coordinate system, so if I choose a coordinate system, then there would be position vector for these two particles and position vector of these two particles. Okay. And their center of mass would be somewhere in between. So, somewhere the line joining these two particles, there would be some center of mass. So, I also join from origin to center of mass. Now, R1 is the position vector of mass m1, R2 is the position vector of mass 2 and RCM is the position vector of center of mass. So, how center of mass is defined then? So, m1 times r1 plus m2 times r2 must be the sum of the masses and that is located at RCM. So, we can say this is capital M, right. So, M is m1 plus m2 total mass. If the total mass may be considered at a point called center of mass and position coordinate of that is given there. Okay. But we know potential energy in most of the interesting problems does not depend on its position vector from an origin that is chosen arbitrarily. It will depend on the distance between these two particles. So, we will require potential energy in terms of R. Okay. What is R? R is the magnitude of vector R, which is R1 minus R2. So, R is magnitude of this and that is R1 minus R2 mod. Okay. So, this is what the position, this is what the R. So, vector R is going from here to there. So, that is what is from M2 to M1. So, that is what is my vector R and potential energy is given in terms of that. So, now we can define from position vector, from center of mass to position of the first mass, that will say r 1 prime. Okay. So, we will define it as r 1 prime. So, r 1 prime is r 1 minus r c m. Okay. Similarly, r 2 prime is r 2 minus r c m. So, r 1 is from this center of mass. So, let us say this was first mass and this was second mass m 1 and m 2, and on the line joining two masses there was center of mass somewhere here. So, this is what is r 1 prime and this is what is r 2 prime. So, that is what is done here. Okay. So, now we have two relationship r 1, this is equation 1 and this is equation 2. Using these two equations, we can write r 1 r 2 in terms of r etcetera. So, r 1 minus r 1 prime minus r 2 prime is same as r 1 minus r 2. So, these are same whether I take from this point or I take from this origin, r 1 prime minus r 2 prime, these are the same thing. Okay. Now, we will try to write the Lagrangian of this two body system. So, what is the Lagrangian? First I write Lagrangian of the center of mass. So, mass is m, capital M is m 1 plus m 2 and r c m dot square, right. Center of mass is moving. Then I have to write kinetic energy with respect to, or energy of the system with respect to center of mass. So, with respect to center of mass, I have m 1 r 1 prime dot square plus half m 2 r 2 prime square. So, this is what is the kinetic energy of the system, and then we have potential energy. So, minus potential energy, which is r 1 prime r 2 prime mod of that is same as r 1 minus r 2. Okay. So, I can reduce this one to half m r dot square, and let us what are the equations we have? We have to now use those two equations, equation 1 and 2, and we want to reduce these things. So, let us do that. Let us multiply equation 2 by m 2 and add here. So, equation 2 times m 2 plus equation 1, what do we get? m 1 r 1 plus m 2 r 2 and So, R 1 R 2 and then we add here M 1 R 1 M 2 R 1 minus M 2 R 2. So, that is the left hand side, this one and this one equal to M R C M, and we have multiplied the second one with M 2 plus M 2 R. That is what we have done. This cancels. So, I can write R 1 as M. So, M 1 plus M 2 is common here, right. So, I am now writing expression for R 1. So, M goes with M in RCM. So, this gives me RCM plus M 2 upon M 1 plus M 2 or capital M. So, I can write R 1 and similarly I can write R 1 prime. So, R 1 prime is, if I subtract RCM, that I will get so what is R 1 prime? R 1 prime is R 1 minus CM. So, R 1 minus RCM. So, this goes. So, R 1 prime is nothing but M 2 upon M 1 plus M 2 R. Similarly, I can find out an expression for R 1 R 2 prime. So, R 2 prime would be minus M 1 upon M 1 plus M 2 R. So, R 1 prime and R 2 prime is written in terms of masses of two particles and vector r, which is the position of M 1 with respect to M 2. Okay. Once that is done, then I can use those expression. So, I can take R 2 prime dot from here and R 1 prime dot from here. So, if we substitute that in this equation, so I am going to get this mu times, I am defining mu r dot square minus u of r. Mu is M 1 plus M 2 upon M 1 plus M 2. This is called reduced mass of a two body system. 1 upon mu is 1 upon M 1 plus M 2. You can invert and see M 1 plus M 2 upon M 1 into M 2, and that gives precisely this. So, Lagrangian of a two body system can be written in terms of kinetic energy of the center of mass, and with respect to center of mass the kinetic energy of the system. So, a reduced mass is coming there. So, this is what is my final Lagrangian. So, Lagrangian is a function of RCM R RCM dot and R dot. That is what it is. But you see RCM dot appears, but RCM does not appear in the expression. So, RCM is a cyclic or ignorable coordinate. So, I repeat whatever is written above. As RCM does not appear in L, it is an ignorable or cyclic coordinate. Okay. And what is the consequence? Consequence is the corresponding momentum is conserved. So, if it is a cyclic coordinate, then what is going to happen? If it is a cyclic coordinate, then derivative of Lagrangian partial derivative with respect to RCM is 0, because RCM is not coming directly, and from the Lagrange equation of motion d dt of partial derivative of Lagrangian with respect to RCM dot, that should be 0, because these two have to be equal. That is what is the Lagrange equation of motion, but one part is 0. So, this must be 0. So, by RCM dot is a constant, d dt of this is 0. So, it is a constant, and what is this? This is what is called momentum of center of mass. If you take the derivative of Lagrangian with respect to the velocity, then you get corresponding momentum. So, if a coordinate is cyclic, the corresponding momentum is constant, and this will mean the velocity of center of mass is also a constant, because momentum is mass times v and mass is capital M into VCM. So, by converting or jumping to center of mass frame, we have simplified the problem. In many problem, you will find whether VCM or velocity of center of mass or momentum of center of mass may be either 0 or very small, or if it is varying, then it is a constant. So, problem may be solved for ignoring this part. So, jumping on center of mass frame. So, problem is considerably simplified, and once it is done, then correction can be put because of center of mass frame of reference. So, this helps making the problem easier, and in this sense two body problem may be converted to one body problem if you jump to center of mass frame of reference. Okay. So, now we will do the problem for central force field. So, that we will do in detail later. So, only thing that we need to know, central fields are those, let us say if there is a force which depends on R and it is derivable from some potential energy or some gradient of some scalar, minus sign. If it is force, then we put minus sign. Okay. So, that equation of motion is consistent with the sign. So, if it is derivable from a potential which depends only on R, so such forces are called central force, or corresponding fields like in electrostatics, electric field etcetera would be called central force field, or gravitational field would be called gravitational force field, and they can be derived this way. So, all central force field is directed towards a point or directed away from a point. So, these are the properties of central force field, and next time we will do a problem of particle moving in a central force field. Thank you very much.